number 6, and I'm waiting for my friend Will. He's about to connect. And if you don't know about the format of our bilingual podcast, the first half of the show or episode, we speak Argentine Spanish, and the second half, we speak American English. So that's the format. I'm waiting for my friend William, or translated to Argentine Spanish, that is Guille, which is short for Guillermo, right? So that's why I call him Guille. Sometimes I call him Will, but for the most part, I try to call him Guille. Anyway, this is a U.S. soccer jersey from the 90s, I think, and with Mr. Claudio Reina. He was Captain American, that's how they used to call him back in the 90s, and his parents are from Argentina. So now his son is playing currently in the U.S. soccer national team. So it's a soccer family for sure. And so I'm going to speed this up in post. It's all good, man. It's all good, man. It is all good, man. Or Saul Goodman. That's the main character of Better Call Saul, which I recommend you to watch if you haven't done so. Anyway, here I feel a little... Oh, here's Will. All right. William. Guillermo.
Hola, hola, hola. ¿Me escuchas?
Te escucho, Guillermo.
Genial, me alegro. ¿Cómo estás?
Firme como rulo de estatua.
Genial.
¿Y vos cómo estás?
Estoy arremándola en dulce de leche a repostero, digamos. Eso es, pues no sé si usé esa expresión correctamente. Es algo que Dustin me enseñó hace un par de días y quiero tratar de usarla, pero no sé si eso fue el momento adecuado.
La verdad que vos me enseñaste una frase, porque esa frase aparentemente es una frase más nueva y de los últimos, no sé, 5, 6, 7 años, y nunca la había escuchado, así que realmente no te puedo decir con exactitud.
Ok, dale.
Pero seguramente está bien. Yo digo que no es que yo nunca la escuché porque hace 17 years que estoy acá en el United States, y bueno, entonces se me escapan algunos términos de las nuevas generaciones, y always remember, boy, I could be your dad, boy.
Sí, yo iba a decir que vos llevas casi la misma cantidad de tiempo viviendo acá en Estados Unidos que yo, solo llevo como 5 años más. Así que
Sí.
somos
Seguro.
somos casi iguales.
Cuando yo llegué, vos eras un niño de 5 años.
Así es.
Así que es así. El otro día hablaba hace 2 noches fue a chequear las practice sentences for this week para nuestra clase. Así las grabé anoche, y cuando estaba ahí le había mandado un mensaje a Rubén porque no había podido encontrarlas de la semana pasada, y justo cuando estaba ahí eran casi las 2 de la mañana, y Rubén me contesta y me dice, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm answering you this late, but yeah, these were the sentences. Y bueno, estaba ahí conectado y hablamos como 20 minutos, media hora más o menos, por texto, vamos a decir, ¿no? Y bueno, yo le contaba a Rubén que nosotros hacemos un video todas las semanas y no pude encontrar las frases de la semana pasada y no estaban en ningún lugar, no, realmente, mirá que yo soy el más veteran y no las podía encontrar y no pude hacer el video la semana pasada. Y hubo solo 2 videos nada más, así que me pregunto si las otras personas tuvieron el mismo problema que yo porque no pudieron encontrar. Pero hubo 2 sumisiones el mismo día de la clase, ¿no? Eh, eh, pero bueno, corté una racha de 59 videos non-stop. O sea, en 59 semanas hice video toda la semana non-stop hasta la semana pasada, porque no pude encontrar las frases, o sea, que ni siquiera no atribuyo la culpa ni a mí ni a ellos. Digo que si no hubiese sido por eso, seguiría con la racha de hacer videos, pero hice 59 videos non-stop. So, anyway, that was kind of I'm proud of it. 59 freaking
Claro,
videos.
claro. 59 es impresionante, así que te felicito.
Thank you.
No hice el video tampoco la semana pasada, así que no sé, vos ni yo va a sacar una buena nota. Pero está bien.
Pero no, ya anoche grabé el video y lo tengo que editar hoy. Ahora mismo es uploading episode number 5 para Colo Tolo. Está subiendo ahora mismo.
Genial.
Mientras hablamos así. Sí.
Vamos. Una cosa, primero que nada, voy a decir que esa palabra me mata cada vez que trato de decirlo o decirla. Pero hace un par de días me levanté a las 3 de la mañana porque en el dormitorio de mi hermana hubo un grito y cuando fui a su dormitorio para ver lo que pasó, hubo un murciélago, no sé si me salió bien, pero un murciélago
That's right. Nice job.
volando y volando en círculos alrededor de la luz en su dormitorio y no lo pude creer, no lo podía creer, y porque es la primera vez que había visto un murciélago. Es la énfasis en la A, es murciélago. Murciélago, ok, bueno. Y es algo que había leído historias o cuentos de otra gente sobre eso pasando, pero no me acordé cómo es la mejor manera para atrapar un murciélago en tu casa. Así que eso fue como la definición de un quilombo. Como mi mamá, mi hermana y yo tratando de atrapar un murciélago en el dormitorio, y estoy seguro que el murciélago estaba pensando como, ¿qué está pasando
Estos gigantes que me están
Ya, deja- déjame vivir en paz, por favor. O déjenme vivir en paz. Pero no sé si me imagino que no es algo que no es un problema que vos no sé, que no es algo que ha pasado a vos, pero es un animal bastante raro, un murciélago. Se ve como un ratón con, ¿cómo se dice? Alas. ¿Cómo se dice?
con alas.
Sí, con alas, y el sonido o el ruido está medio raro también, eh, como una vibración, pero no es, no es algo muy divertido a las 3 de la mañana.
No, seguro.
Es el resumen de todo.
¿Y
Eh,
cómo lo sacaron? ¿Qué pasó?
eh, sí, después de como 30 minutos, ¿cómo se dice? Exhausted. Bancame.
Exhaustado. Exhaustado.
Y sí,
Se cansó.
después de volando por tanto tiempo, el, el murciélago estaba agotado, ¿está bien? Estaba agotado.
Sí. No, perfecto.
Claro, claro, yo sabía eso, mala mía. Y, y pudimos usar una toalla para atraparlo y después, no sé, cómo liberarlo en el extranjero o afuera de nuestra casa, vamos a decir. Así que eh, sí, fue algo, eh, una manera distinta para despertarte, o despertarme. Eh, pero bueno, perdón por las pausas con vocabulario. No es un tema que de que hablo mucho en español. O sea, no explico el proceso de atrapar un murciélago mucho en español. Así que
No, está
gracias
bien.
por tu paciencia.
No, está bien. No, está muy bien. La pronunciación de la palabra toalla es correcta. No, bien. No, proud of you.
Genial. Eh, y eso fue la única cosa eh, interesante en mi semana. El resto fue eh, lo normal, con locura tras locura en el trabajo, pero acá estoy y es, estoy muy contento como siempre, eh, para, para tener o solo a tener. Estoy súper contento para
Por,
tener la oportunidad.
por tener la oportunidad.
Ok, por tener la oportunidad de practicar con vos y aprender nuevas cosas. Así que
My pleasure, my brother, my pleasure. I'm so happy that we are doing this together. Y yo también me siento contento de que podemos conversar y aprender los dos. Y no, fantástico.
em,
Te iba a contar una cosa rapidita así,
genial.
a- que sé que seguramente te va a interesar, pero bueno, esta camiseta que tengo puesta con el número 10,
Número 10.
es una camiseta, te voy a mostrar de quién es, a ver si ves en la espalda.
Reina.
¿Sabes quién es Reina o no?
Reina.
Claudio Reina. Claudio Reina.
No la conozco.
Sé que esta historia te va a gustar. Claudio Reina, que nació en tu estado de New Jersey, era el capitán de la selección de fútbol estadounidense en los mediados de los 90. ¿Okay? Número 10, con la banda de capitán, y le decían Captain America. ¿Okay? Y Claudio Reina es de padre argentino.
Así que no lo conozco. Perdón, yo escuché Claudia Reina, pero
No. Claudio. Sí, y el padre de Claudio Reina era futbolista argentino. O sea que, bueno, él era, vamos a decir, habla español argentino fluidamente. Y hoy por hoy, su hijo juega en la selección de Estados Unidos. Hoy, vamos a decir, en la selección que jugó hace unos días, está en la selección, está su hijo Reina, que se llama Gio Reina. Así que bueno, esa es la historia de Claudio Reina, que era el jugador más importante de los mediados de los 90 de la selección estadounidense, ¿no? Jugó un mundial o 2 mundiales. Así que bueno, esa es la historia que te quería contar de tu paisano de New Jersey.
Sí, en Google dice que él es de Livingston, New Jersey, y no es a poca distancia. Bueno, pues es como 1 hora por auto, pero no es muy lejos, así que, pero no conozco, Livingston muy bien, así que no sé cómo es vivir allá, pero bueno, Claudio Reina. ¿Y por qué es un apellido con el acento argentino? No decís como, pues tiene o la Y, no es como Reya o Reya, es porque es un apellido, no es solo Reina y listo.
Sí, en realidad, Reina con una Y, o sea, rey significa king,
Claro.
y reina es queen.
Uh-huh.
Pero bueno, están los distintos spellings. Y por ejemplo, Tolosa se escribe también hay gente Tolosa que se escribe con Z, ¿no? Tolosa, Tolosa, con una Z española, vamos a decir, ¿no?
Sí.
Y no, eso es simplemente una cuestión de spelling, pero no, se dice reina porque la Y se pronuncia como una I, vamos a decir, en muchas palabras, y en otras oportunidades se pronuncia como una Y. Como vos sabés, yerba mate no es hierba mate, sino que es yerba mate, ¿no?
Claro. Em, y, y yo sé que la pronunciación de reina es así, pero no se suele escribirlo con una Y, así que por eso te
Claro.
pregunté si es Reisha o algo así, pero es porque me acuerdo em, no, no, no me acuerdo de quién sobre quién estábamos hablando, pero un jugador en la selección argentina con un apellido de Italia, pero eso es un montón de los jugadores, y yo pronuncié las doble L's como ya, y vos me dijiste que porque es italiano, no es hay que pronunciarlo como L y no el sonido de ya, o no sé cómo, cómo es la mejor manera de
Ah,
describir ese
sí,
sonido.
sí.
Pero está bien.
Sí.
No,
Sí, por ejemplo, uno de los jugadores más importantes de la historia del seleccionado argentino se llama, porque todavía está vivo, Daniel Passarella. Passarella
pasarela.
se escribe con doble L al final, Passarella, con doble L. Y
Claro,
no es
y
pasarella, sino que es pasarella, porque es bien italiano, vamos a decir, ¿no? O sea que sí, si es un apellido italiano o una palabra italiana, siempre que veas la doble L es siempre con se escribe la. Como por ejemplo Guillermo Francella,
sí,
¿no?
eso es lo que iba a decir. Guillermo Francella, si no es Francesca. Um,
Sí.
pero bueno. Em, y
Tengo una careta de Francella. No sé si viste los episodios, pero a veces uso la careta, me la pongo ahora. ¡Pum! Pero tengo una careta de Guillermo Francella que la pongo en nuestras caras a veces en las ediciones.
en serio. Qué gracioso. Em, em, una cosa, perdón. Oh, um, otra frase que aprendí en la última clase con Dustin fue la verdad de la verdad de la milanesa.
Claro, sí, sí, es
eso,
así.
eso me parece súper argento.
La
Y
verdad de la milanesa, sí, sí, esa la conozco bien, bien.
la verdad de la milanesa. Así que,
Sí, la verdad de la milanesa, sí, sí. Esa clásica. Papá.
y,
Ah,
y creo que, y supongo que es el mismo en inglés, pero se usa comida frecuentemente en expresiones argentinas.
sí, sí.
Pero obviamente en este momento no puedo pensar en una. Pero no
¿En una,
importa.
en una frase argentina?
Fue una expresión con comida. em,
Con comida, ok. ¿Vos sabés lo que significa la verdad de la milanesa? ¿Te
sí,
explicó Dustin?
es, es como, no sé cómo describirlo, pero es como la verdad ab- absoluta o de, es,
Claro.
em,
The
the
ultimate
real
truth.
deal, puedes decir en inglés.
The
Uh,
ultimate truth.
the ultimate truth, ok.
Ah.
Sí, o the real deal, dale. Em, sí,
Tengo una frase que anoté para vos, pero bueno, hice ahí pensando en vos. Me hiciste acordar porque me dijiste esa frase, tengo otra, que si querés te la tiro y si querés googleala ahora o googleala para la próxima como quieras vos. Pero tengo una frase que la escuché el otro día y dije, pum, se la voy a decir a Will para que la aprenda y para que ver si encuentra el significado, a ver qué significa, si querés.
dale, por favor.
Te la tiro. ¿La querés googlear ahora o la querés buscar para la semana que viene?
No,
Como vos quieras.
no puedo googlearlo ahora mismo. Ya.
Bueno, te la tiro a ver
No,
si.
ahora, ya, hermano.
Ya, ya. Tengo. La frase es. Are you ready for this? La
Listo.
frase es: billetera mata galán.
Billetera mata galán. Ok.
Billetera mata galán.
Ok. Y tenés que incluir la canción o el himno de Jeopardy. No sé si eh, la conoces, pero
Ajá. Turu,
sí,
turu,
pensando. Funny fashion, billetera mata un galán. Dice algo sobre una banda de Uruguay.
Puede ser el nombre de una banda, pero bueno, vamos a decir las frases.
Pero hay un ejemplo. Se casó con un hombre 15 años mayor y bien feo. Claro, billetera mata galán. Billetera mata galán. Así que
¿Se entiende más o menos lo que es? ¿Qué significa?
mi adivinanza sería que el dinero es más atractivo que, que cómo se ve alguien o algo así.
Que la facha de un hombre. Sí, la frase viene de galán, ¿sabe qué significa galán o no? Galán galán es a leading role. It's a leading role on a movie, un hombre que es muy guapo, vamos a decir, que tiene mucha facha, es el galán, es el leading role.
¿Y eso es lunfardo o una palabra en español?
Galán tengo entendido que no es lunfardo, ¿no? Galán se usa también en España, un galán. Eso es lo que entiendo, quizás, si estoy equivocado, pero eso es mi entendimiento de la palabra galán. Pero bueno, eso es lo que significa, ¿no? Entonces, la frase billetera mata galán significa que si una mujer tiene dos candidatos, uno que es 30 años más grande que ella y el otro de la misma edad y es handsome y es un good looking guy, pero no tiene plata, vamos a decir, no tiene un peso. Y bueno, si ella decide ir con el hombre más viejo y feo, y bueno, la frase, la gente dice billetera mata galán, lo que quiere decir es que ella terminó yendo con él porque tiene plata. Vamos a decir, por eso tiene un Mercedes-Benz y tiene, entonces, billetera mata galán, ¿no?
Sí, ¿y cuál es la palabra? Un cheto es alguien que tiene mucho dinero en Buenos Aires, ¿no? Un cheto.
Ni.
Oh,
Ni.
siempre con esa palabrita.
Ni. No, cheto es, vamos a decir, te explico lo que significa y te explico por qué sí hay parte de que sí, que es así, pero vamos a decir, un cheto es una persona really snobby from the high class, from an upper class, ¿no? De una clase alta de la sociedad. Una persona que cree, hablando de hombres o mujeres, cheto o cheta, ¿no? El cheto, en realidad cheto es short por la palabra, the full word es concheto o concheta, concheta. Pero se dice cheto, es short, es la palabra corta para concheto, vamos a decir, ¿no? Pero bueno, hablando de un hombre, puede ser una mujer, pero hablando de un hombre, para explicarte, concheto o cheto viene de una persona que es de la clase alta, que se crió desde bebé, siempre tuvo todo, y los conchetos hablan de una manera más concheta, vamos a decir, ¿no? El español que usan el argentino es una onda así, te voy a tratar de imitar como para que te des una idea. Ay, bueno, pero el otro día, boludo, fuimos a bailar a Kikes y bueno, no sé, tomamos una cerveza y bueno, ¿entendés? Tenemos todo porque en realidad a nosotros no nos gusta la cerveza, ¿me entendés? Nosotros necesitamos un vino bueno. O sea, es kind of a really snobby way of talking. Y como vos me decías de plata, sí, en realidad viene de la clase alta, así que se entiende que un concheto tiene plata. Ahora, vos podés hacerte concheto si no venís de una clase alta, vamos a decir. Si vos empezás a ir a los nightclubs y empezás a vivir una vida que vive una gente cheta o concheta, entonces te podés transformar en un cheto, vamos a decir, ¿no? No es necesariamente de la clase alta. Es una forma de vida, una forma de actuar, pero generalmente la mayoría es de clase alta porque De ahí viene el término, ¿no? Pero yo conocí en mi vida a chicos que se hacían los conchetos o se hicieron conchetos, pero venían de una clase baja, vamos a decir, o una clase media baja, vamos a decir, ¿no? O sea, es medio como una opción.
Ok, dale, entiendo. Y con ese acento te elijo para el papel del galán en nuestra película sobre conceptos.
Dale, dale, sí.
Así que genial, muy bien. Ok. Um, Otra palabra que leí por la primera vez en el libro Che Boludo que vos me recomendaste es buenudo.
Buenudo. Mitad bueno, mitad pelotudo. Buenudo.
Sí, a mí me encanta la idea. Es un buenudo.
Claro, un buenudo.
Una mezcla ofensiva, pero no es, pero también es, no sé, educado. Es como,
It's a cute word. It's a cute word, actually.
sí,
Es una palabra muy tierna.
Hay
Buenudo.
unas otras palabras que son muy parecidas, no en el significado, sino que es como ni es como una mezcla de dos palabras, como otra fue amigovia.
Amigovia, claro.
Es mi
Amigovia.
amigovia o amigovio. Eso también, porque no existe ninguna palabra así en inglés como...
Mitad amiga, mitad novia. Es
sí.
una amiga que de vez en cuando las cosas están tristes, bueno, se apaga la luz y bueno, no, ahí ya la gente se imagina qué pasa, ¿no? Pero bueno.
Sí, pero...
si querés podemos hacer, de vez en cuando podés sacar el Che Boludo book y hablamos de alguna de esas palabras.
Sí, podemos si querés o en otro episodio. Si no
cuando vos quieras. Yo tengo una palabra que yo ya te conté de esta palabra en una de nuestras reuniones cuando todavía no estábamos haciendo los episodios. O sea que yo sé que tenemos la grabación, pero bueno, te la digo ahora, así la ponemos en el show oficialmente. Pero es una palabra creada por mí, it's my own word, y cuando yo escriba mi Che Boludo book, y le pondré otro título, che pelotudo, o no sé, porque Che Pelotudo no existe, así que es un buen... It's a good title, actually.
Buena idea.
Che Pelotudo. Y la palabra es patada bolístico. Patada bolístico. Y patada bolístico viene de patada en las bolas, ¿no? Es una situación que es such a pain in the ass, such a, oh my God, such a patada bolístico day to day at work. We have to still go to Manhattan. Y bueno, patada bolístico viene de ahí, de una situación o de algo que no querés hacer cuando tenés que hacer ¿cómo se dice? The dishes, tenés que lavar los platos. Oh my God. Es una situación patada bolística porque nadie quiere lavar los platos, vamos a decir, ¿no? Así que bueno, patada bolístico.
Es genial.
Lo voy a poner en mi libro. Y estaba viendo el otro día, porque cuando edité el último episodio que está subiendo ahora mismo, hablamos del libro Che Boludo, entonces yo busqué las fotos y yo pongo fotitos, pongo títulos, fotitos, de todo en los episodios nuestros, ¿no? Y hay tres ediciones hay 4 ediciones del libro Che Boludo. Y la última edición salió ahora en noviembre del 2020, del año 2020, hace unos meses atrás, salió la última edición, que tiene una etapa completamente distinta a las ediciones anteriores, ¿no? Y yo fui a ver y miro, qué bueno, debe estar Qué bueno que está, debe ser mejor, vamos a decir. Y seguramente es mejor, porque yo no lo leí el libro. Pero lo que me llamó la atención es que tiene nada más que 64 páginas, ¿no? Y yo decía, no, 64 páginas, eso no es tan difícil de escribir 64 páginas, vamos a decir, ¿no? O sea, no digo que es fácil, pero te quiero decir, yo me imaginaba que iba a ser un libro de 300 páginas. El Che Boludo, la Biblia del Che Boludo, ¿no?
Del lunfardo argentino.
Sí, voy a ver si algún día cuando tenga 50, 60 años, voy a ver si escribo el Che Pelotudo y pongo mis patadas bolístico y todas esas cosas raras.
Che pelotudo.
Sí. Así que no, eso.
Pero bueno, podemos conversar sobre algunas palabras y después cambiamos a inglés si te cabe.
Perfecto.
Pues eso va a ser más como un tema, porque hay tantas expresiones acá, pero la palabra bola se usa mucho en, en este libro, como dar bola, te dan bola, romper las bolas, hinchar las bolas, en bolas, me tienen como bola sin manija, y entiendo todos, con excepción de me tienen como bola sin manija.
Okay.
Pues no sé.
I can see your brain processing. What should I say? Should I say this or not? So I can see it in your eyes.
we can cut this whole thing out then if it's too because it may have just clicked.
No, la verdad, yo te digo sinceramente te digo que escuché la frase como bolas y manija, pero te juro que no sé lo que significa, ¿no? O no me acuerdo, o no sé, o no me acuerdo, pero en este momento no. Escuché la frase, ¿no? Pero no sé, la tendríamos que buscar ahí en Google porque no me acuerdo qué significa. Y de todas las que vos me dijiste, esa es la única que no me puedo acordar qué significa.
Ok, pero no es nada sexual, ¿verdad? No creo.
La verdad que no sé, pero creo que no, pero no sé por qué no sé qué significa, pero creo que no recuerdo haber escuchado esa frase en un contexto sexual, vamos a decir, ¿no?
Okay. ¿Conoces la expresión en inglés, a chicken with its head cut off?
Chicken with the head cut off. I heard the expression y creo que significa que es vamos a decir, está descontrolado, vamos a decir, algo descontrolado, ¿no? Algo que está fuera de control porque cuando le cortas la cabeza a un chicken, el cuerpo todavía corre por unos segundos.
Sí. Es, pues para alguien que no entendió, es una gallina sin una cabeza,
Sí.
pero no sé, se usa cabeza para un animal, porque yo sé que es como una pata, no un pie o algo así, pero no sé si la
Cabeza es perfecto.
anatomía. Bueno, pero acá dice que se usa, me tienen como bola sin manija en el mismo contexto de like a chicken with its head cut off. Así que
Okay.
puede ser como ya dijiste, que algo está fuera de control y todo eso. Pero, ¿alguna vez has visto una bola con manija?
No, la verdad que no.
Y por eso no sabía si o de dónde vino esa expresión.
Pero ves, me enseñaste algo porque yo no sabía, así que te agradezco por enseñarme argentino. Will, sos un maestro.
A veces, a veces no. Pero otra pregunta, La diferencia entre dar bola y te dan bola, porque me parece que son iguales, pero acá hay dos líneas distintas.
Sí, dar bola es cuando vos le das bola, le estás dando bola a alguien.
Como
Y
prestar atención, ¿no? Como prestar.
claro. Sí, dar bola significa, sí, prestar atención y también se usa en un contexto entre un hombre y una mujer, pero bueno, puede ser entre una mujer y una mujer o un hombre y un hombre, pero en el contexto romántico, ¿no? De cuando vos tenés una chica que te gusta en tu high school y if she paying attention to you or not, you know, it's just like, if she really notice you, so if that is dando bola es eso, ella te da bola o no. ¿No?
¿Ella es su amiga, amigovia o novia?
Claro, claro. Y lo mismo para vos, si vos tenés una chica que está atrás tuyo, se dice, ella está atrás mío, la tengo atrás, significa que ella, la tengo atrás mío, sí. No físicamente, pero voy a decir, no sé, Susana está atrás de Will, que significa que Susana, le gustás a Susana, que Susana quiere que vos seas el novio, vamos a decir, ¿no? Y bueno, eso es si vos le das bola a Susana o no, vamos a decir, ¿no? Eso, dar bola o vos das bola o te dan bola, vamos a decir, ¿no?
Okay. Sí, claro, entiendo que es como una diferencia de sujeto y todo eso, pero el, el tema o el significado es el mismo, ¿no? Es como to
Claro.
give you the ball o they give no importa,
Sí.
es como sí, como prestar atención. Dale.
Ahora, también se puede decir, hay una variación que no está ahí, pero bueno, es muy es específica y que no sé si está ahí, pero se puede usar en el contexto dame la bola. Si agregas no dame bola significa una cosa, dame la bola significa otra cosa. ¿Okay?
Por supuesto, ¿cómo no?
Hablamos de dame bola, eso ya lo entendimos qué significa, y dame la bola se usa en un contexto futbolístico. Cuando estás jugando al fútbol, significa, hey, give me the ball, pass me the ball. That's what it means.
Y, perdón, ¿eso es con la o sin la?
Con la.
Con la es...
Cambia completamente cambia el significado. ¿Okay? Si vos decís dame bola, es hey, pay attention to me. Y si vos decís dame la bola, cambia completamente el significado, pero eso se usa si estás jugando al fútbol. Si vos y yo estamos jugando al fútbol en el mismo equipo, y vos me decís, che, ven, dame la bola. O sea, pasame la bola de fútbol, vamos a decir, ¿no?
Claro. Pero esa bola no tiene manija, así que no.
Y otra cosa, disculpame que te doy una más, un significado más.
Por favor,
también se usa, no sé si está ahí en el diccionario ese, después lo podés chequear, pero se dice dame pelota. Dame pelota es lo mismo que dame bola, pero en vez de decir dame bola, dame pelota. ¿Ok?
Está bien. Okay. Y en fútbol, ¿es una pelota o una bola?
Pelota.
Pelota, ok. Ok. Sí, siempre tengo que pensar en cuando debería usar bola y pelota. ¿Es una pelota
Sí,
o una bola?
se usa pelota, pero se puede usar bola también, es menos común, pero en el fútbol se usa pelota, ¿no? Pero bola sí se usa, che, pasame la bola.
Oh.
Pasame el balón, se usa también. Pásame el
Sí,
balón.
balón es otra palabra. Es como, ¿cuál es
Claro,
la diferencia entre pelota, bola y balón?
sí. Son sinónimos, pero bueno, pelota es la más la palabra más conocida, más usada. Después balón se usa también, una palabra más graciosa, pero se usa también. Y bola también. Puedes usar pásame la bola, pásame la pelota o pásame el balón, ¿no?
Okay. Dale, gracias. Y una preguntita más. Acá la palabra es bardo.
Bardo.
Y la definición me parece muy parecido de,
Quilombo.
sí, quilombo.
Claro.
Vos sabés, él sabe lo todo.
Argentinólogo.
Pero sí, ¿cuál es la diferencia? ¿O hay una diferencia?
Sí, hay una diferencia. Si bien se usa, es un sinónimo de quilombo, bardo, hay otra palabra que esta sí esta anótatela, Will, anótatela, buscala, si querés en otra oportunidad, pero hay otra palabra, sinónimo que es hecatombe.
¿Hecatombe?
Hecatombe, ¿ok? Hecatombe es un sinónimo de quilombo, vamos a decir, ¿no? Hecatombe. Hecatombe es E-C-A. Hecatombe. T-O-M-B-E. Hecatombe.
Sí. ¿Es una palabra italiana? ¿Hecatombe? ¿O es
Puede ser, sí, porque el español el argentino tiene muchas palabras
claro.
italianas o que vienen del italiano, ¿no? Pero sí, hecatombe y bardo sí es un sinónimo de quilombo. Lo que pasa es que el verbo bardo se puede usar para, por ejemplo, bardear. Cuando vos bardeas a alguien, es basically when you're insulting somebody. You can say, che, me estás bardeando, boludo, me estás bardeando, no me bardees, no me bardees. Bardear es como insultar, vamos a decir, ¿no? Quizás una manera un poco más soft, más suave de insultar, es bardear, ¿no? Pero sí, bardear, vos podés bardear a alguien y decirle algo que no es nice, algo que no nice, it's not nice at all. Eso significa bardo y bardear.
Dale, ok. Así que solo tiene que ver con una persona, no una situación o algo así, o no entendí.
No, tiene que ver con una persona, pero se puede usar en el contexto de una situación. Por ejemplo, puedes decir, la fiesta a la que fui anoche era un bardo. Era un bardo. Y se usa como...
La razón por la cual te hago esa pregunta es, no sé si hubiera sido mejor si yo hubiera dicho,
Hubiera o hubiese.
sí, hubiera dicho con el murciélago, si en vez de fue un quilombo, fue un bardo, la situación.
Perfecto, perfecto.
Ok.
Ahora, se usa también la palabra, hay una otra manera de usar la palabra bardo, que es bardero. Por ejemplo, bardero se usa para describir a un troublemaker. ¿Okay? Si, por ejemplo, si vos sos si vos sos una persona que cuando vas a una fiesta te gusta romper cosas o te gusta empujar a otros, como Biff, no, como Biff en la película Back to the Future, right? A guy like Biff en la película Back to the Future, he's like a bully. A bully se usa en ese contexto también. Che, no lo invites a Will a la fiesta porque es un bardero, boludo. Viene y hace quilombo, se roba cosas. No, es un bardero, boludo. Rompe cosas, rompe las mesas. No lo invites, no lo invites. Eso se usa bardero. Ahora, bardero también es un sinónimo de la palabra quilombero, ¿no? Quilombero se usa también, se puede usar quilombero, que viene de quilombo, y bardero viene de bardo, ¿no?
Quilombero, ok, bardo. Hay tantas palabras.
Argentinólogo.
Es como idioma, es otro idioma. Como hay español, hay castellano y hay argentino. Es como,
Claro.
eh, pero bueno, creo que ya estamos en español. ¿Eso tiene sentido como ya estamos o ya está? No sé si lo usé bien, pero sí, estoy listo. Si queréis cambiar a inglés.
Okay, let's go make the switch. There you go. How you doing, buddy? How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm ready to speak English with my friend and with my brother, Guillermo.
Some American English. I did this week. I know I've said it in the past, but I'd be like, oh, I should have written that down. I wrote down four words that I heard either when I was talking to someone else or on the radio, that I made a note. I was like, oh, this is real. Like, I feel like this is like good kind of conversational stuff that you wouldn't learn in a textbook, but like you'll definitely.
I know. It's funny. It's funny because I do the same thing for you, and I think of you all the time. Oh, that's kind of fun. Yeah, I need to. Yeah, right. And I write it down, and then I tell you. But it happens all the time.
Right.
Before you proceed, let me just for a second. I wanted to make you a recommendation to somebody you should listen to because he's very popular in the Argentine streaming world, and he's an influencer, and he's so funny, and you can learn so much from his Argentine because the way he speaks, a lot of the words he uses come from like lower class Argentine speaking, which is, obviously it's a little different than there's nothing wrong with it. What I'm saying is like it comes from a very humble family, right?
But the opposite of cheto, huh?
Right, the exact opposite of cheto. So if you want to learn somebody cheto, if I need to recommend you somebody who speaks a little bit like a cheto, and I'm saying this in kind of in a funny and in a cool, good way, is Dustin. Actually, the way he speaks Argentine is kind of a cheto. There's nothing wrong with being cheto. It's just that a lot of the mannerisms he uses to me are like very cheto. Right. But if you want to learn, it's good for you to listen also to this other guy who's going to tell you, and I'm sure you're going to like him because is Kun Agüero. You know who Kun Agüero is?
Kun Agüero, sí, claro.
Right. So he is a very successful streamer in not only in Argentina but also in the Spanish-speaking world because he talks with all these streamers from Spain. There is this guy called Ibai, which is like the toppest. Ibai is like the top streamer in Spain. It's like he has like millions and millions and millions and millions of subscribers. So they play games together and they talk to each other like we are doing right now. And and Agüero is so funny. It's a guy who's like happy all the time and cracking jokes. And so just follow him, watch a couple of videos. If you want to, I can send you a few that are probably funny for you to kind of get an introduction to what he does. But he he is into professional e-sports. So he has like a professional e-team, esports team, like a professional, what that is. You probably know better than I do because, but yeah, he's just follow Kun Agüero, and he speaks in Spanish obviously all the time, and oh man, it's just so funny. He's so funny.
Yeah, I love him. He's one of my favorite players, and he's always seemed like a muy buena onda. But yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. I was curious, have you listened to Carlos Tevez?
Carlos Tevez, right?
Is he another one that kind of, I know he was raised in like a real...
Right. Well, he was, he's from very, very humble beginnings. And so they're both, Agüero and Tevez, they're both from the Villa. They came from a Villa. A Villa is like a slum.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying this correctly in English, but slum, right?
Yeah.
From Slumdog Millionaire, from that movie. Is that what I'm trying to say? Is that the right word? Like
a slum is like an area where there's not a lot of there's a lot of poverty, or it's sort of like not a real nice area. It's usually a lot of violence or something like that in the slums.
Yeah, so villas are they're like they have their own limits, and they are kind of illegal territories, meaning that they are not really, many of the villas, not all of them, they are not really, they are not a real like town, right? So they determine, this is our villa. Yes, so there are certain villas where we are like Villa 21, I think it is, which is, they have the limits. It's more like an urbanized villa, but many other villas don't are like, for example, Tevez, he comes from a villa called Fuerte Apache, right? In fact, there is a Netflix show called Apache.
Apache, yeah.
Right. So Fuerte Apache is a villa where the police doesn't get in. Even the police doesn't get in that place unless there is like a death, like they kill 3 people, sure. But besides that, those extreme circumstances, they don't get in villas. And anyway, so both Tevez and Agüero, they came from villas. So, they have, they are very humble beginnings. And in villas, you have drug dealers, and you have very, you have really hardworking people. So a villa is a dangerous place, but not everybody is a criminal on a villa, right? Yes, sure, there's a lot of criminals who live on a villa, but there's a lot of really hardworking, humble people, like Tevez family or Agüero's family. They were not criminals. They just were really poor, and that was the only place they could live. And so yes, they do have a lot of the slang or the words that they use, that they're very words from somebody who has very humble beginnings, I guess, or they grew up in a poor family, right?
Right.
And I think it's the same thing in every country in the world, even in the US, obviously, right? Somebody from a very poor family in the South or whatever, right? They have their kind of dialects or certain words they use, right? Or the way they pronounce certain words are really, you can tell that person is, likely grew up in a poor place, right? So same thing with Tevez and with Agüero, right? But Agüero is so funny, and he's a guy who can't stop talking. He talks, and is funny, and he's always in great mood, and he's he's bardea, right? Bardea is also a good way of bardea. You can use that word in a good context of like, if I say, hey, well, why don't you just stop pushing me around? It's kind of a little aggressive, but or kind of in a friendly way, or between friends. You can bardear a friend of yours, say, hey, don't, leave me alone. It's a kind of on an amicable way.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow. Just watch a couple of Kun Agüero videos, and you'll learn really good Argentine Spanish, like from the streets, and you'll learn a lot of words, and you'll laugh because he's so funny, and also because he's streaming, he's very careful, so he's never gonna say anything that is sexist or nothing wrong in that respect. Now he will curse a little bit,
right?
But he's very, very careful what he's saying. So yeah, watch Kun Agüero. You'll love him.
I definitely will. Like I said, he's one of my favorite players. And he's set to join Barcelona, right? Isn't he? I think he's transferring from Man City. So
now he's the new player of Barcelona.
And is Messi staying in Barcelona? So will they be?
Nee. Well, in 20 days, his contract expires.
I see.
So if his contract expires, he can go to another team for free, and that will represent millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of lost capital for Barcelona, because his current contract with Barcelona is for $555 million right now. So they are now negotiating to see if he's going to continue or go to another team. So now, my personal preference, because I love Messi and I want the best for him, is for him to go to another team, because we talked about Messi before, but I think the problem that Messi has is that he's not a natural born leader. And because of that, I think he's been failing with Argentina and Barcelona for the last 6, 7, 8 years, because they made him the captain just because he's the best player in the world. But that if you're the best player in the world, that doesn't mean you have to be the captain. The captain should be somebody with personality, somebody who lifts you up. When Messi is losing an important game, he's like this. No, a leader is somebody who's a Michael Jordan, who's going to grab you and say, what the F are you doing? You guys, let's go and win this game. Come on. That's it. You need that in basketball, football, soccer, you name it. You need that type of personality to win important games. So I think that if he goes to another team, he's not going to be the captain because he's a new player. But he's going to be able to just be the best player in the world. And I think that will be best for him. But a lot of people say, no, Barcelona, he's been there forever. His family is there.
You like Real Madrid, so you don't want him you don't want him on Barcelona anymore. I see what you're doing.
Yeah. No, he wouldn't go to Real Madrid because, certain players, they are so identified with certain teams that he will never do that.
I meant more because they're rivals. So since they're like Real Madrid, you don't want Barcelona to be good.
Oh, I would love him to go to Real Madrid because I'm a Real Madrid fan. But it's just that's impossible to happen just because of.
I didn't think it would ever happen. I'm just saying that you would want him to leave Barcelona so that Real Madrid can beat Barcelona.
Or Real Madrid, that would be great. But I think he can go to PSG, Paris Saint-Germain in France, or
him and Mbappe together. That would be.
He will play with Mbappe and Neymar and Maria and Icardi, which I really like Icardi, but he's the number 9 at PSG right now. But they're thinking about a trade between Cristiano Ronaldo and Icardi. So there's one of the rumors is that Cristiano will go to PSG and Icardi will go to Juventus in Italy. So I think that will be a really good trade for them. But I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the month.
Right. I'll have to keep an eye on that. But anyway, Kun Agüero, I'll watch some of his stuff. When I get the chance. So I don't know if you have questions, if you want to go over anything, or if you want to get into this list here.
Let's go with your list and. Okay.
So I don't know if I'll be able to. I'll try to do my best too to maybe give an example in Spanish at some point, so if people don't understand. But I'll start with one that I think you probably already know, but I noticed it as an interesting. I don't know what the right term would be, but to say real quick, like I feel like in Spanish you'd probably say like very quick or something like that, but the word real before quick struck me as kind of odd, and we can use that in several different ways. So you could say something like, oh, real quick, let's talk about, Messi or something like that. Like you can use it to get someone's attention, like, kind of like I always say, like, one more thing, una cosita más, or something like that, like, oh, real quick. So I don't know what another translation in Spanish would be, but I don't know if that's something you ever say, real quick. But you can also use it like, we got out of there real quick. And I think maybe that might be grammatically wrong. It might be really quick, but you'll hear a lot of people just say real quick.
Real quick.
So that's one I feel like there's a lot of uses for that. Like, oh, I'm just going to run to the store real quick. It's easy to say like, al toque, or like,
Al toque, right.
Or that you're switched, like you need to say one more thing, so like una cosita más, something like that.
Can you say it real fast? Because I think I've heard real fast, right, before.
Yeah, real fast.
Let me do this real fast, or.
Yeah, that's really the exact same thing. Yeah, like you said, like, oh, I need to run to the store real fast. I think real quick, at least for me, sounds a little bit more natural, but like
yes, right,
like just ever so slightly. And
ever so slightly. That's a good one. A good phrase.
Ever so slightly, yeah.
Ever so slightly, yep.
That's kind of a bit more like eloquent, a bit more formal, but yeah, it's a good one too. Ever so slightly. But I don't think, like, you could say I'm going to the store real fast. I don't think you'd hear someone be like, oh, real fast, I just wanted to talk about PSG or whatever. So that would be probably more like real quick. So I think that's a phrase you could introduce more, like, oh, real quick, can we talk about this, or doing something real quick. And again, it might be technically more grammatically correct to say really quick, but most people, I guess, say it wrong, and it's real quick. So so that's number one. I don't know if that's one you've used, but that's a good one. Number two, this one I'm curious about, because this may be more of like a regional expression. So you'll have to ask your wife and see if she knows the word, but
Okay.
A hodgepodge.
Hodgepodge. Boy, I think I've heard that.
Wow, man, you are good.
But I never used it myself, because I heard it, but I don't know what it means. But I heard that before. I don't know if I heard that from my wife or from my mother-in-law, maybe, but I don't know what it means. So teach me, Master Will.
I feel like this is a word my mom will use a lot. So again, I don't know if it's like a generational thing or a regional thing, but I just think it sounds funny. It doesn't sound English to me. It sounds like, I don't know, Indian or something, like hodgepodge. But it's sort of like I don't know if you've heard of a mix match. That might be another expression, but it's like in Spanish, it'd be like a colección, variedad, sortido, something like that, like an assortment. So like you could say something like, if you didn't know what you were going to have for dinner and you open the fridge and you're like, okay, we have some leftover chicken, we have, some salad, we have, some milk, like we sort of have a hodgepodge of things. I don't know if we can make something. So it's sort of like a bunch of different things, just sort of like That,
So how do you spell it? It's like HUSH hash.
no, it's HODG.
Hudge. Okay, Hudge. Okay, like
Make sure-
fudge.
Yeah, so it's HODGE
Hudge.
PODGE. HODGE.
Oh, okay.
PODGE.
Oh, huh. I have no idea. No
So, like
idea.
the example it gives here, it says it's a North American thing. So I don't know if you'll hear an English or someone from England saying it, but like it gives an example here. In Rob's living room, there was a hodgepodge of modern furniture and antiques. So it's like there's a mix of things and there's no real clear pattern in them. It's sort of like
Una
I don't know,
mezcolanza.
there may not be a lot of opportunities to use it. I heard it and I'm like, oh, that is such a funny word, and you'll hear people use it from time to time. And
I think I have
if you use hodgepodge to someone, they're going to be like, this guy.
This guy.
Tipo entiende todo.
Let me tell you a word that I think that is a good translation for in Argentine, and it's also not a common word, and it's mezcolanza.
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 Mezcolanza. Right.
So
Mezcolanza is like a mix of things, because mezcolanza comes from mezclar, mixing.
Right.
Y mezcolanza is like you're just mixing random things, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So there you go. It's a hodgepodge. But you'll have to ask your wife, because she might be like,
I will.
Maybe it's a New Jersey thing. Here's another word too that again it might kind of be similar to hodgepodge, but it's again sort of a more advanced word, so don't worry. I mean, if you don't use it, it's absolutely fine.
Hot fudge, right? Hot fudge, is that like when you're like saying like whatever, that's such a hot fudge, like, you know, like, oh, you're just making things up, right? Hot fudge or not? Or I'm making that up myself right now.
I've never heard someone say this hot fudge.
Bologna, yeah, that's kind of you're giving me some bologna. That's kind of you're giving me some crap.
Total bologna, yeah. Have you heard someone say something with fudge? Well, I missed what that was.
I think that I'm not sure, but I may have heard somebody saying, "Oh, stop giving me such a hot fudge," like, you know, like you're just giving me some BS, you know.
Yeah, that I've never really heard that, so maybe that's a New Hampshire thing. But
it could be.
Sometimes you might hear someone say, and this is again probably not super common, but sometimes people will use fudge as like a polite way to say the F word. So instead of saying I effed something up, you could be like, oh, I fudged it up. Something like that. I don't think that's what you were referring to, but you might hear fudge used like that. Sort of like, you know, if you have kids nearby, you could be like, you know, to your wife, you'd be like, oh, I really fudged up, you know, and your girls don't.
Yeah, we use actually the F word, literally the F word. So we say we effed it up.
Oh yeah, that's probably more common. That's definitely more common. So it's the same idea though. So this is just a word I was listening to an audiobook today, and the guy said this word a few times, and I just thought it was, again, it's an advanced word, but it's hard to find things that you don't already know. So I gotta make them challenging. It's haphazard. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Yeah. H-A-P-H-A zeta. Is that Z, right?
Yeah.
No,
I have not heard. Maybe haphazard. Maybe I heard that before, but I don't really have like a very clear recollection of her in that word. I never use it myself, and I don't know what it means.
Right. Well, but oddly enough, it's sort of similar to a hodgepodge. So you can have a hodgepodge and a haphazard. Say that 10 times fast. Hodgepodge. Yeah, it's just so funny. Both these words like just don't sound English to me, but haphazard, and you might hear it used as an adverbio, like an adverb, something done haphazardly, and it's sort of like without reason, or there was no thought about it. So like I'm trying to think of what a good example is. Like I submitted homework, but I didn't read the question correctly. I didn't answer it, and it was sort of done haphazardly. Like it was not. It was sort of random, disorganized. So again, an advanced word. I don't really expect you to use it a lot. I just noted it as like, oh wow, like that's a funny word in English.
I love it. I love it. You said haphazardly. You can use it.
So like, you can. So like haphazard by itself is an adjective, adjetivo, but you can use it as a adverb. So like to describe an action. So like, the party was run haphazardly, like without care or something like that. Again, it's sort of a random word, but it's a funny one, I thought. Let's see. I'm trying to think of if there's a good equivalent in Spanish.
Haphazardly. Enquilombada.
Enquilombada. Sin el debido cuidado. I don't know if that's like without care. I don't know. Anyway, something like that. So haphazard, hodgepodge, real quick. And this one is kind of like two different ones that are very similar. And you might know this one, but whatchamacallit?
Oh, Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. Ding, no.
So one of the most difficult things I had to learn in English, and if you talk to any Spanish-speaking person, I'm sure they agree with me. Well, one of the most difficult to me to pronounce, and I still have trouble with, and I'm going to pronounce it for you so I can prove you that I still have trouble with. And my wife is like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God. I feel so bad and so far from speaking correctly when I say this name. It's Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin. I don't know how in the world to say it like, naturally and correctly, but Macaulay Culkin, Macaulay Culkin, I don't know. It's just such a twin twister to me. It's like, I can't say it. So how do you say it? Go ahead. Master Will.
Macaulay Culkin.
Okay, Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, so like Mac, like McDonald's, you can kind of catch that. And then Ollie is sort of like
the skater move, right? And Ollie.
Yeah, and Ollie. Yeah, so
Macaulay. Okay.
Macaulay, and then Culkin.
Culkin. Okay. Yeah, like Culkin. Culkin. I think I got Culkin.
Yeah. So,
Macaulay. That's the keys. Thank you for the tip. Macaulay. I'll remember with the skater move and Ollie.
Someone going to McDonald's.
Macaulay. But Macaulay is not a very common name, right? Or
I've never heard of or met anyone else except for Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin.
It's it? Hold on a sec. Anyway, it may be, and I could read up about it. Sometimes it's sort of like an older tradition, but people name their kid the maiden name of the mother. So like his mother could have been like Sarah Macaulay, and then they just named him Macaulay Culkin as like honor both families. I don't know if you've heard of Johns Hopkins University. It's like one of the top. It's one of the top universities in the United States, and it's named after a guy who I don't know what he was famous for, but maybe he just started the university. But it's John's like with a Z, not John by itself, but like John plural. And it's because his mom's maiden name was Johns, so his name is Johns Hopkins. So anyway, that's what I was thinking. Might be the thing with Macaulay, but anyway.
Interesting.
And then okay, so back to a what do you call it? Do you have any guesses?
I have absolutely no. To me, you just spoke Neanderthal language. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I forget the name. What was the name of the language you taught me? It's like a thing in Carlapos or Carlapos.
Hero. What is it? Hero. Oh boy, I just can't think of the word.
It's okay.
Hero. Something with hero. Oh my God, I just can't think of it.
It's okay. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
So yeah, this is another, like, this is more of a common, sort of a filler word, I guess you could say. And there's sort of different ways you can pronounce it. So you can say it a few different ways. You can say, whatchamacallit. So that's kind of a tough, that's going to be, I'm sure that's tough. Or just what do you call it? Or what's it called? It's sort of like, and you can't think of the word, but you're trying to describe something. So like,
what? So the last piece is like Macaulay, like Macaulay Culkin or not? It's like
so like the way I was on the phone with someone today and they were talking about something and then they were like, oh, and then I was working with the whatchamacallit. And it's like, it's just a funny way of saying they're like, oh, what's it called again? I can't remember. It's just a whatchamacallit. I could try to break it down slower too, but it's a
but the last piece is like the name Macaulay or not?
Sort of McCall. Yeah, that part. McCall, and then it, just like, you know,
Macaulay. Instead of Macaulay, it's Macaulay.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, well, it's like whatchamacallit. I don't know how did
whatchamacallit.
Yeah, perfect. Whatchamacallit. So it's kind of like I think sometimes in Spanish you could say el coso, like it's like the thing. Is that a thing? Like if you'd be like, oh, dame el coso. Like if you can't remember the name of something.
Right. Yeah.
That's sort of this, like the whatchamacallit. Like you could be perfect example. So you could be like, oh, I heard these two kids speaking, and if you couldn't remember the name of that language that we were talking about, you'd be like, they were speaking whatchamacallit. It's like, it's just something you say as like a filler, sort of like when you can't think of something, but it's sort of like, it just indicates that you don't remember the name. So I think it's useful, and I use it a lot. Whatchamacallit, or I think you could also just say like, what you call it? Yeah, I would just say whatchamacallit. That's whatchamacallit. It's funny, the more I say it, the less it sounds like English. But
whatchamacallit, huh? Interesting. I don't remember hearing that. Oh, if I heard I didn't detect it.
I was literally like driving home from work, and I had my phone hooked up to the Bluetooth, and someone called me, and we were talking, and they said that, and I was like, oh, I need to write that down because I feel like that is such a good one. Whatchamacallit.
Huh. I love it.
You can ask your wife about that one too. We'll see what she says. But
whatchamacallit? Oh, Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, there you
go. Right.
Whatchamacallit? Yeah, it's nice. That movie Well, I guess I don't know if you use it with a person. I'd probably be like, who's you call it? I made that up, but
uh,
what you call it? Yeah, you could probably use it to describe a person too. I mean, it's far from correct English, but it's definitely something that people say.
I love it. It's actually a great word.
I think that of all the ones, that's the one that, like, if you sprinkle that in, I think it'll be like Dustin and Ruben would be like,
Oh, nice job. Great job,
yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
No, I think it's like the best word that I learned this year.
Yeah, it's a fun one. What you call it? So it sounds like, I don't know if you've read the Dr. Seuss books, if that's something that you read with your daughter.
Well, actually, my daughter Brianna, she's reading that a little bit, and something I heard, and I didn't ask. I asked my wife, but then we did tour our conversation, and I forgot. But I don't know I heard that some people have recently had trouble with Dr. Zoo for I don't know whatever. I don't know, but that's how I remember kind of learning a little bit about Dr. Zoo's recently, is about people having trouble for some political reason. I don't know
Right.
what happened, but
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain me the problem? Because I have no idea.
Yeah. So first of all, just for a pronunciation tip, it's Dr. Seuss.
Seuss.
Yeah, with an S, not a Z. So Seuss.
Okay.
Seuss. Dr. Seuss. Kind of like I don't know if you know Greek mythology, but like the main guy was Zeus. Instead of the Z, it's a Sue, like the name Sue. Seuss. Again, it's a German last name, so it's sort of a tough sound, I'm sure, but Seuss. But yeah, he's for a long time has been regarded, or has been known as like the here's a big word for you, the quintessential, which is like the
ultimate.
The ultimate, the thing you think of when you think of children's books. Like he wrote so many books for kids. His creativity was just unparalleled. And I don't know if you know The Cat in the Hat, The Lorax, Horton Hears a Who. Basically, he was famous because his books were really colorful. The way he drew, like his pictures are very distinct. He has this very unique form. And a lot of his books rhyme. And they're insane. Like he makes up creatures, he makes up stuff. Like it's just, it's very over the top, we say. And recently it came out that before he started writing kids' books, he had made some cartoons. I don't know if it was for like a magazine, or I don't know the full story of where these cartoons were used, but they were racist in how they depicted Black people and Chinese people.
Oh, okay.
And so there was this sort of like, oh, we shouldn't have our kids reading books by a racist guy. But I don't know if it's more that, like, and I'm not saying that this is a necessarily an excuse, but I think it was a more common belief at the time. Because I mean, he lived, let's see, I don't remember when he was alive, but it was just it was a more common belief. Like, so he lived in like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. So he was like 100 years ago.
Right.
Anyway, that was sort of the controversy, is that, like, you know, here he is, this hero or this idol, and then he kind of may have been slightly racist.
Kind of.
But anyway, that's a little bit of Dr. Seuss. But he the reason I brought that up is he would rhyme a lot, but he'd also make up these monsters or these creatures that just had, like, we say, gibberish names that are just like didn't mean anything. And it's sort of like whatchamacallit sounds like would be a monster in his book. Be like, oh, there's a whatchamacallit over there.
Right.
Only that would be the name of the monster, not that you couldn't remember it.
Right.
Anyway, so that's a really good one. If that's one of my favorites of whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, kind of a similar controversy with Michael Jackson that, after he was allegedly, accused of child abuse, then a lot of people say, oh, we shouldn't listen to his music because, whatever. Kind of
Right.
similar controversy.
Yeah, it's sort of like something was discovered that most people didn't know, and people are arguing if that like made him a bad person or if it was just sort of like, there were cartoons like that all the way, all over the place, because that's just, that was more acceptable back then. That's sort of the discussion. So,
Yeah. Huh. Good. I do have a question for you if you're I don't know if you're done with the words that you wanted to.
Yeah, that's my list for today. So now you have to make one sentence that includes all those words.
Macho Macaulay talking.
Hodgepodge, haphazard. Yeah, I'm giving you a trabalenguas today.
Yeah, I have a kind of. I just thought of another question, but I'll tell the first question. Yeah, I think I'll tell you the second question because I think it's quicker, and then the other one is more like an English question. That I think it's a very simple question, but it's kind of complex to me. Anyway, so the first question is: do you have a favorite or a few favorite comedians? American comedians, because we are talking about learning English or Spanish. Maybe you have some Argentine comedians, but I'm just saying within the American comedians, do you have like one that is your favorite or a couple, or you don't? So,
well, my answer right off the bat, I don't know if that's an expression you use, but it's like
right after that, yeah.
Sin pensar, is Robin Williams. Was my he's one of my favorite people ever. Like I admire his ability to just improv and to just like make so many jokes, just like boom, 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 boom. He just never stopped. And I don't know if you've seen the Disney movie Aladdin, where he's the genie.
No.
Okay. It's I highly recommend it, especially your girls would love it if they haven't already seen it. The Disney animated movie, like it's animation, but yeah, Robin Williams is the voice actor for the genie. The genie, like the yeah. He and as a kid, that was like one of my favorite things to watch because he's just so good. Anyway, so he would be my answer.
I will watch it. I have a quick story with Robin Williams. So anyway, I'll tell you because we're talking about him right now. But let me tell you a quick story with him. So 10 years ago or so, I had the opportunity to see Robin Williams in Broadway. He was doing a play, I think it was called something Tiger, Paper Tiger, something with the word tiger. Had the opportunity to go see him, and I really wanted to see him in Broadway because one of the things I enjoy doing is going to Broadway to watch movie actors. I don't really care too much about stage actors from Broadway, but I like to go to Broadway when Al Pacino is playing with Robert De Niro, with somebody from the movies, right? So I had the opportunity, and I thought that it was a summer. I thought, oh, I really want to go see him, but you know what? No, I'm not gonna go. I'll go next summer, I'm sure, or the next time he makes a play, I'll go. And so that the following year, he committed suicide, and I missed the opportunity. That's one of the things I will always regret for the rest of my life. I had the opportunity, and I have not seen him. So another actor I've seen is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh yeah.
I saw him on Broadway.
Really?
He did Death of a Salesman in Broadway, and I saw him, and I had the opportunity, and I went and I saw him. Then he committed suicide.
Yeah.
And but I saw him. I saw.
Right.
And another guy I saw like 4 or 5 times, but because he's one of my favorite actors is Al Pacino. I saw Pacino on Broadway 4 or 5 times. So anyway,
one tiny little thing, and there's no way you would have known this, and I don't know why it is, but people always say on Broadway, not in Broadway. So like there's a new show on Broadway, or like saw him on I have no idea why, but that's something that it's just like the expression. So just like a little that was like the only thing.
Is it on or in?
On. Yeah. And I know it's tough for Spanish speakers because en can be in or on. But yeah, in this case, for whatever reason, it's on Broadway.
No, that's great to know. So that brings me to another question, and it's like, why would you say on Broadway and not at Broadway?
Yeah, my only thought is Broadway is usually, and this could be wrong, but I think it's referring to, I don't know if it's actually on the street, but there is a Broadway is the name of like a really famous street in New York City.
Yes.
It's sort of like the main street. And so you're like you are at that location, but you're on the road, like you're on Broadway. You're not in the road, which would be like, dentro, but like it's
okay.
You're just so like, you're on top of it.
Would you use on or at if you're talking about a place, let's say Disney World? Would you say on Disney World or at Disney World?
Yeah, so there you would say at Disney World. You wouldn't say in or on. I think on is just like a rare exception for Broadway because it's I guess because it's just it has to do with the street. Let me just see. I don't know actually. If anyone from New York City is watching this, they're probably like, of course, Broadway is the Broadway theater located in Midtown. Yeah, I think it because it's on Broadway, like the road. So you could say, like, for any time you're describing location on a road, you would say like, oh, the supermarket is on New London Street in New Hampshire or whatever. It's not at the street name. It's on the street name. So anyway, that was just a little. The only thing. And if you really wanted to be nitpicky too, when you're talking about Philip Hoffman, his middle name is Seymour. I think you would say Seymour. But I mean, again, these are little tiny things.
No, that's good. That's good. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Vermas Hoffman.
Right, Vermas.
Anyway, I forget.
So that's your favorite.
Robin Williams. You would ask about favorite comedian. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
What was there a reason why you asked about favorite comedian? I don't.
No. I was just wondering in terms of like English usage, and I do have I do have some comedians I like. I do like Robin Williams. He's a master of puppets.
Yeah.
And I really like Jim Carrey. Some of the things he does, or most of the things he does, I think I like. Some other things I'm not a big fan, but some of the other things I think he's a genius.
Have you ever seen
him perform live or perform in live shows? Whew, that's a guy who can perform.
Right. Have you ever seen the movie he's in called The Grinch?
I watched a little bit of it at Christmas time, but I didn't sit and watch the movie. I just saw. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a particularly popular movie of his, but The Grinch is a Dr. Seuss book. So it's a popular kids book about this, green monster that hates Christmas. Anyway, I was just trying to connect that back to Dr. Seuss when you said Jim Carrey. But yeah, if you can understand, I guess more so with Robin Williams, if you can watch, like you personally, watch his comedy, his stand-up, I think that is a huge, and you understand most of what he's saying, like that is a huge accomplishment, because I feel like he talks very quickly. He's constantly switching topics. So if you can follow that, like your English is.
Well, I do have currently, I think, a favorite comedian that I really enjoy watching, and something I don't like about him is like he could be really dirty sometimes with the language, and I get it, but I rather have a cleaner type of humor, just because I think that saying dirty things is kind of cheating,
Right.
It's like an athlete using drugs. Well, yeah, if he uses drugs, he's going to win the race, right? Yeah. So using dirty words and talking about, sexual stuff, I think is, I don't enjoy it, because I see it as a cheating, So I think that if you really want to show how much of a genius you are, don't use any drugs, don't use any sexual content, because just show me that you're funny without using sex, because it's easy to say funny things when you use sex. So again, I don't like that. But besides that, I really like his style of being really open and direct. And that this guy is Bill Burr.
Oh yeah.
Who Bill Burr is.
One of my best friends loves Bill Burr. Absolutely loves him. I to be honest, I don't know if I've ever really listened to his comedy before. So I'll watch that if you watch Aladdin with Robin Williams.
Yes. Oh, I will.
And definitely with your daughters will love it. I mean, it's a Disney movie. It's a classic. So.
I will definitely watch it. So Bill Burr has 4 specials in Netflix, so that's where you can watch them. So the last one is called Paper Tiger, and one of the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen is on that special. At the end of it, when they are showing the titles, so it's a picture of him in the middle of the stage. You can see he's on the stage, so the audience is behind him, so it's not like he's facing the audience. The audience is behind him, and the camera is like in front of him, and you can see the magnitude of that theater. Beautiful. It's a beautiful, huge theater. So he's holding his baby daughter, so you can see, and it's interesting because Bill Burr is such a super white guy, but his wife is African American, so her little girl is kind of a mix in between the two, and it's such a beautiful picture, because you have to, if you watch that special, watch until the end, and you'll see the beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen. It's such a cute feeling, it tells so many things to me,
right.
That picture, that the love and the way he's holding her, and it's like getting her ready to the world, it's just like, she's like, I don't know, she's probably 2 in that picture, and amazing picture. But yeah, Bill Burr is like, I don't want to like him, but I do, meaning that it's like sometimes the things he says are like really, like really, and many of the things he says are really borderline controversial, or they are controversial for so many people. But yeah, so many of the other things he says are really true. One of those things that a lot of people want to say and don't say, and that's part of the job of a comedian, I think, that show and express those things that people are afraid to say, you know. And another comedian I really enjoy, and I like it better because he's a very clean comedian. On only one bit he wasn't, but all of the other specials he was pretty clean. And I really like him. Is Jim Gaffigan. I don't know if you know.
Jim Gaffigan. Yeah. I have seen some of his stuff.
Yeah, he's pretty funny too. And so yeah, those are my two favorite comedians. So my point being that, you know, comedians really teach you really good American English with all expressions and all these little words. So yeah.
I don't know if you've ever listened to Kevin Hart before.
Kevin Hart before, yeah, but Kevin Hart is kind of a dirty sometimes, right? Isn't he?
Oh yeah, he definitely can be. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know, you know, it would be another good practice for you in that it's sort of like The Last Dance, like where you hear more like, kind of like how you were saying Kun Agüero or Tevez kind of have like just a sort of dialect.
Right.
Same as some of the players you hear in like The Last Dance or Kevin Hart, like just some of the expressions and the mannerisms are just sort of more of like a,
yeah.
I don't know how to really say it, but like just a different cultural thing. So it's trying to learn more.
So for example, there are two comedians that there is one that I really like, and the other one, I think is a genius, but there is something that really is a turn off for me. So I don't like to hear the N word. I just don't. And I don't care if you're white or black. Don't use that word. It just doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't. So, you know, Dave Chappelle, I can't watch Dave Chappelle. I think he's a genius, but he uses the N-word all the time. It's just like, again, it's like, to me, it's some sort of an illegal drug being used in sports. You don't need to use that word. You know, just don't use it. Period. Yeah. In my opinion, just don't use it. Again, I don't care if you're black or white. Don't use it. You know, just show me how funny you are without using that word. That is very offensive for some people. I mean, it's really, really a very offensive word for some white people and for a lot of black people. Even when you're black, people don't like other black people saying the N-word. And I'm just so against it, you know? So anyway, that turns me off.
No, I totally agree.
And yeah, so let me ask you the last question so we can get going. But I have one last question that is more kind of, if it's an English question. And again, it's a simple question, but the answer is very unclear to me. And maybe it's very clear to you. And that's why I'm asking you, because you may say, oh yeah, you should do this, or this is the right way to say this. But here's the thing. So when you are naming yourself or naming a channel or naming a character, right? So let's say I was thinking, oh, maybe one day, this is like a, you know, just wishful thinking, or like, you know, like pipe dreaming or whatever you want to call it, but just like brainstorming for a future possibility, not even a real possibility. It's just one of those things. We have millions of ideas, and I put them on a little file, and maybe one day I execute them and I typically end up executing 1% of them anyway, or less. But so I was thinking maybe one day I'll open, because I'm thinking about rebranding my channel and rebranding myself, you know, and I can tell you a little bit about that maybe another time, or maybe later. It's not really relevant to what I'm going to ask you right now specifically. But one of the things I was thinking is like, maybe if one day I have another channel where I actually talk about, you know, life and things that I think about life, I was thinking about using the name Hayoka, right?
Oh yeah.
So here's the English question is like, what's the proper or the best way to use these two words together? Would you would you rename somebody's name as Ben Hayoka or as Hayoka Ben? Do you see what I'm saying? What is the right way to say it, and why? I mean, why one or why the other? So that's a question.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good question. And first I'll say I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. But it does kind of send a different there is like maybe a slightly different meaning depending on which way you put it. So if you said Ben Hayoka, first of all, it kind of might just sound like it's your last name, like Ben Tolosa, Ben Hayoka. Like, especially if someone wasn't familiar with that term, they'd probably just think that that was your last name. So that's probably the more like subtle way, or just like it's it just sounds like a name. If you did Hayoka Ben, it sounds more like a nickname. Like I'd be like, oh hey, Hayoka Ben, what's up? Like it's sort of like, in English sometimes we kind of put like a nickname in front of, like it could call you like, Old Man Tolosa or something like that. Like it's just sort of like describing the
pretty accurate, by the way.
I didn't mean that. It was a thing that came to mind. Like you might hear, like for example, like where I live, there's a lot of farmers around, and for whatever reason, like we call them like Old Man so and so, like Old Man Cervanka. Like it's just sort of like it's like the nickname and then their last name. So like, even though it doesn't have to be a last name, but like Hayoka Ben, to me sounds more like a YouTube channel name, because it's sort of like a nickname. Like,
okay.
Like if it was like, Argentina Joe or something like that, like it just, as opposed to Joe Argentina, like that's a bad example. I don't know why I picked that, but like it's just a really subtle thing. But to me, like if you were renaming your channel to that, I think Hayoka Ben sounds more natural as like a username or like a profile thing, as opposed to Ben Hayoka just, sounds like Ben Tolosa or Ben whatever. So I don't know if that answered it, but like in this case, if it were for a name, I think usually you would put like the nickname before the real name, and that's sort of more of a common way to say it. I hope that made some sort of sense.
It does. So does the meaning of the first word change the meaning of the full name? For example, so let's say Hayoka Ben. What if it was Fat Ben? It's like one Hayoka is not really an adjective, right?
Adjective, yeah.
Adjective. But fat is an adjective. So, does that make a difference?
Even though Hayoka is not an adjective, I think that's part of the reason it sounds better in front to me personally, is because it's like it's describing you, even if it's not an adjective. Like if I said Ben Fat, again, it just sounds like you're not, like it just, maybe it sounds like your last name is Fat, as opposed to did you say Fat Ben? Was that the example?
Right. Fat Ben.
Oh,
Fat
okay.
Ben, yeah.
I didn't know if I misheard you, and then you just thought I was calling you fat. No. So like, yeah. Again, Fat Ben sounds like a nickname. Be like, oh, here comes Fat Ben or whatever, or Speedy Gonzalez or whatever. But yeah, Ben Fat just sounds like you have an unfortunate last name. You're like, oh, pobrecito.
Right.
So yeah, I think either way is good though. Like if you wanted it more of like a Ben Hayoka, it is good, and it sounds great. Hayoka Ben to me just sounds more like a stage name or something. Like it just sounds more like that's the name like a nickname.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay. That's good.
it's a tough thing to explain. It's not quite as clear as like, you know, in Spanish, sometimes if you put the adjective before, it changes the meaning. Like, you know, es un hombre grande, or es un gran hombre, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
like it's not quite that clear. So
it's good to know. Hayoka, I like Hayoka Ben, but anyway, so yeah, I was thinking very quickly just to wrap up, but yeah, no, in terms of rebranding, I think I'm going to change the name of my main channel to I think I'm thinking right now, changing it to Sambo Media, which is, I do have a DBA. You know what a DBA is? Doing business as. So I do have my company. It's called Ventilosa Studios. It's an LLC. So when you have an LLC or a corporation, you can also get a DBA, which is doing business as. It's a nickname for, you know, if you have a branch on your company, so you can, you know, let's say you're gardening work, then you will branch out and say something leaf, whatever. But on the back end, it's still that same LLC. So my LLC is Ventilosa Studios, but I'm thinking about renaming my LLC to Sambo Media, because I already have a DBA called Sambo Pictures, which is what I intend to use for making movies and doing any photography projects. Anyway, because of most of my videos on my channel are about media, it's about lighting and about video cameras and about, you know, stuff like that. So audio, I'm thinking about changing, rebranding my channel. And then I will open a channel about for my acting purposes, and it will be just that, you know, we'll be like doing acting stuff and funny stuff and stuff like that. But I will not put that in my main channel. And so that will be another rebranding, but I'm thinking about using another name. I don't want to use Ventilosa. Thinking about using Ben Templar. That's kind of because I like the Templar Knights, and so I'm thinking about going with that stage name on that other channel. So the Hayoka Ben was just more like an English question, and so all right. So thank you so much for everything today. It's been a great session.
Yeah, and
thank you for all the teaching.
I'll be curious if when you ask your wife about you know, some of the words, I can text them over to you if you don't remember them or
Whatchamacalling.
Así es.
Whatchamacalling.
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it. Yeah, so that's the best one. But I'm curious about a hodgepodge, if that's a regional thing or not. So if you could ask those two, then that would be.
I will. I will. Just I'll ask her after the show.
And definitely watch Aladdin with your kids. But make sure it's the one with Robin Williams, not the new one. There's a new one with like
Will Smith.
And I think I've heard that one's like scary because it's like not like supposed to be scary, but I guess the editing to make him look like a genie is weird. Anyway,
I will watch it.
All right. Well, you have a good weekend, and
thank you so much. Thank you. As always, my friend. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. And and until next week for the same Batty channel. For the same bad channel.
You said a bad channel?
No, bat. Like
bat. Okay. I was like, that's not good marketing.
Batman. No, from Batman.
Oh yeah. Murciélago. Look at that. The perfect.
Murciélago.
There we go. All right.
Yes, sir. Okay, my friend. Have a great night. Talk to you next week. Have a nice weekend.
Adios.